to select committee and that we refer that to the House. Thank you.
Eugenie Sage.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Thank you. Pleased to take a short call on the Maunganui Borough Reclamation and Empowering Act Repeal Bill. And while, as the previous member noted, it may not be controversial, I think it's instructive to look at some of the history of the bill, and very grateful to Te Aroha Flavel for explaining some of that, because it does repeal a 1975 Act that gave authority for the transfer of 73 hectares of seabed to what is now the Tauranga City Council for its sewage scheme and other municipal purposes. And the Green Party supports the bill because it will prevent further ecological damage from infilling of the harbour, and because it recognises the grievance of Ngā Pautiki in relation to its treaty claim. And even a very brief reading of the Waitangi Tribunal's report on Tauranga Moana's 1886 to 2006 claim highlights the importance of this ancestral landscape and the natural environment of Tauranga Harbour to tangata whenua. Because Chapter 7 of the Tribunal's report begins with the words, and I quote, "By 1840, Tauranga Moana had become one of the most continuously occupied and densely settled landscapes in New Zealand. It is not hard to understand why. It is a place of great natural beauty and diverse and productive ecosystems, open seas, offshore islands, coastal sandy beaches and rocky shores, the large harbour lagoon and its many estuaries, mudflats, tidal pools and wetlands, together with many waterways draining densely forested hills." End quote. Tangata whenua told the Tribunal that over many decades in which the town of Tauranga had burgeoned into a city, they had been shut out and excluded from decisions which influenced the city's development. They had been unable to act as kaitiaki to guard and protect their taonga, the harbours, the waterways, the forests, the fisheries and the sacred mountains of their ancestors. And when you read that report, when it talks about widespread typhoid amongst Māori populations because of the very poor way in which sewage was discharged, the fact that even in the 1950s, effluent at Mount Maunganui was ending up in an open drain, that there were septic tanks that were seeping into the harbour, and that the Borough Council's solution, quote unquote, was to develop this reclamation and sewage scheme. It was strongly opposed by iwi at the time because of the impacts of the discharge on the estuary and the fact that that would diminish the very flourishing ecosystem there. The estuary discharge didn't proceed, but there was further work, and that meant that the Commissioner for the Environment opposed it as well. There was opposition by iwi to the reclassification of the waters in the harbour to allow the sewage scheme to proceed. So there's been a whole history, Mr Speaker, of Ngāti Pautiki and others putting forward their concerns about the impact of the sewage scheme. And this was at a time when we had the Town and Country Planning Act 1953, but unlike the Resource Management Act, it had no specific provisions for local authorities to have regard for either Māori land or Māori interests, and it was characteristic of that time and very much the poorer for it. So this Act that we're repealing is a creature of its time. We have moved on since then, but the Act and the repeal of it will go some way towards assuaging the very well-founded grievances of Ngā Pautiki. And, Mr Speaker, it does reflect its time. We hope that with the Resource Management Act, the much greater concern, the statutory recognition in that Act, that there will be much greater attention in future to making sure that sewage discharges, sewage treatment schemes don't impact on the values of mana whenua and the ethic of kaitiakitanga for their taonga. Thank you.
Andrew Little. Andrew Williams. That's my. I apologise. It's the second time I've done that.